When I first reacted to song number 4, Man Who Laughs, I said this is a sadder version of the previous song, Me and You. That's because a lot of similarities and parallels exist between this song and the previous one. But of course, there are a lot of differences as well that contrast this song with the previous one. So let's explore the similarities and differences between these two songs. First, there's the time signature. These are the first two songs to use a time signature based on groups of 3 notes instead of the usual 4. So in the previous song, we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And in this song, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so they share a similar time signature, but you notice that the speed or the tempo of the song is significantly slower than the previous one. Having a faster tempo helps make the song sound more lively and upbeat, while having a slower tempo helps make it sound more depressed. Next up, you remember that the previous song had 2 riffs that kept repeating throughout the song. And, well, this song does something similar, but in a much more reduced fashion. So it does start off with 2 riffs. And you do hear these repeatedly. They come up again in the middle of the song and at the end of the song. But it's not as extreme as the previous song where that's basically the only thing you ever hear. In this song, there are many more chords being used than just the 2, and there's significant development in the chord progression as well. This helps convey the fact that we're no longer focused on the limited artificial game environment anymore. This song is much more about the human side of Gloria and the struggles she faced when she's taken away from the game world, and so it's written to be much more expressive. Next up, let's talk about the key scale. If we go back to the intro again, we have these 2 riffs. As you can see, both are rooted in the G note. And the main melody of the song ends like this. Again, ending on the G. The first chord that we hear is essentially a G minor chord. And of course, this is a sad song. And so everything points to the song being in the G minor key. The previous song, if you recall, used a reduced scale that was based on A minor. And you'll notice that G is exactly 1 step below A. And so in a pretty literal physical way, when you go from the previous song to this one, you are brought down by a step. This again differentiates between the 2 songs, where higher notes tend to sound more lively and lower notes tend to sound more depressed. Now, although the previous song was based on the A minor scale, it doesn't actually sound sad. And there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it doesn't use the full A minor scale. It's a reduced version, as we covered before. It only uses these 5 notes. Plus, if you consider the structure of the riffs, the first one being, you can see that the first 3 notes make the D minor chord, but this is not all we have. We also go all the way up to this note. This note is not part of the D minor chord. So if you consider all of these notes together, they actually make a chord that sounds different from D minor. And this chord doesn't sound as sad as just a pure minor chord. Similarly with the other riff. So again, the first 3 notes, these make up the A minor chord. But again, the riff goes all the way up to here. This is not part of the A minor chord. So if we play everything together, again, it sounds different than just the pure minor chord. Compare with this song, Man Who Laughs, where the first riff goes like this. This is just a pure G minor chord. To elaborate on that a little bit, normally the G minor chord that you see is this, G, B flat, and D. But in this song, this D note got moved over by 1 octave down here, and this G also gets copied over here. So now you have It's the same set of notes, just played in a different order. Similarly with the next part, this is the C minor chord. Normally the C minor chord would be this, with C, E flat, and G. Now this C got moved up by 1 octave to here, and the G of course gets repeated. And so this song doesn't play with the minorness of the key, if you will. It doesn't add any notes onto the chords, and it doesn't subtract any notes from the scale. It doesn't do anything fancy, it's just your pure simple minor key. And of course that's to drive home the point that this is simply just a sad song. Finally, if we look at the chorus, the first line starts like this. You can see that there's an alternation. Continuing with the second line, there's another little alternation here. The third line, again, alternating notes, and fourth line, even more alternating notes, compared to the previous song where the chorus went like this. Where, yes, you have alternating notes, but obviously the previous song was extremely limited, whereas this one is much more expressive, using multiple different sets of notes in multiple chords. It's much more well developed than just... And of course, all this goes back to the fact that in this song, we're now exploring deeper into the emotional human side of Gloria, which has to be much more nuanced and more complex than the artificial game world that we had in the previous song.